Most gracious God, as we consider the depth of your great love for us, you gave us the gift of your Son, who is sent here in the form of a man, put on flesh, O God. And just as that song reminds us, he gave of his whole self, of body, of mind, of spirit, and soul, in regards to being faithful for your call upon his very life. God, this morning, in and of myself, I am unable to do what you call me to do, and that is to share your word with your people. And so I pray that the words that come forth from my mouth are words that are formed by you, that whatever is spoken, that you would anoint it with the power of the Holy Spirit in such a way that we can be challenged where we need to be challenged, convicted where we need to be convicted, encouraged where we need to be encouraged. But, oh God, our prayer this morning is that you might indeed speak, for your servants are listening. And all of God's followers said, amen. Well, good morning. This morning we continue in our sermon series on the Daniel plan, where each week we are learning about comprehensive health and wellness. This particular week we are focusing on the essential of fitness and looking at it as God's prescription for our health. And so I want to begin by inviting you to go back in your mind, to go back to a time when you were a little kid, where you would be playing in the neighborhood, where you would be having fun with friends. And I want you to think about specifically, what kind of games did you play when you were little? What kind of games did you play? Take just a moment and share that with your neighbor sitting next to you. What did you play when you were little? What do you say? That's a good one. Good one. How about you guys? Oh, it's a good one. All right, let's hear some of them. What were some games that you guys played when you were little? Hide and go seek, absolutely. Freeze tag. Jacks, yes, Jacks, Red Rover. I heard a little voice up there. What games are your favorite to play? Favorite games? Capture the flag, a great one. Did anybody play kick the can when you were little? Oh, yes, absolutely. There was a story came about in a TV show. Some of you may have seen the show years ago. The TV show was The Twilight Zone. And one of the episodes shows a man who was entering into a retirement facility. He had grown older in age, and so as he was in the facility, he begins to think about the games that he played when he was a little boy. And one of them was kick the can. He reminisced about how he would gather with his friends in the neighborhood, how he would laugh and run and jump. He could even remember the ting of the can and its sound when it would be kicked in order so that all those that had been tagged were now free. He had one of his friends come into his room and he proposed this thought. What if, by playing kick the can, we could actually turn back time? He said, just think about it. As kids, we used to play kick the can and hide and seek, and as soon as we stopped playing them, we started growing old. And so, sure enough, he put together a time, an evening, in which all of the residents came together, and there was a group of men that shuffled out to the front grassy area. They had taken a can from the kitchen, they had set it up, and one by one, they began to play kick the can. And then the TV episode, as TV episodes can do, morphed each of those elderly gentlemen into the 9 and 10-year-old boys that they were when they were young. And it indeed showed them laughing and skipping and kicking the can and playing with all that they had. Now, that is a TV show, but I believe that there's some truth to it, because there is a way for us to turn back the clock. There's a way that we can be re-energized. There's a way that we can be on fire of body, of mind, and spirit, and soul. And we, again, can embrace this spirit of play that we have been designed to have ever since we were little kids. Now, think of the difference in mindset that we come about in having as adults. My favorite school period and class of all time, maybe it was yours, was recess. Anybody else have that? Loved me some recess. Would look forward to it all day long, would play as hard as we could, then we'd wait till we could get out of school to go into the neighborhood, to change clothes, to get all the friends together. We'd end up playing all day and almost most of the night until we'd hear our parents call us in so that we could eat dinner. You see, back then we called it play and we loved every single minute of it. Today we call it exercise and we count every single minute of it, and we cannot wait until it was over. When it comes to exercise, let's just get a show of hands. How many of you think it's important? How many of you think exercise indeed is good for the body? Okay? Almost everybody in this room believes that exercise is beneficial. The problem is that only 40% of us exercise 3 days or more a week. What if I could tell you that there is an exercise that will help you look and feel younger, will ramp up a sluggish metabolism, will reduce and manage your weight, will boost your energy, enhance creativity and productivity, increase cardiovascular endurance, improve muscular tone and strength, enhance sleep, reverse heart disease and high blood pressure and diabetes, reduce stress and bring joy and youthfulness back to your life? Would you commit to do it? Well, here's the good news. Lean in, because the number one exercise to help you attain all of these benefits is the one that you will do. In other words, whatever you will do over a consistent period of time will have all of these benefits for your life that were just mentioned. The problem is that we do know this from a mental standpoint, but for some reason or another, it is not enough for us to know this information that compels us to get off of the sofa or the lazy chair and lace up our tennis shoes. So what if no longer you dreaded exercise? What if you were actually motivated and looked forward to the fact that God had given you this beautiful specimen of a body and that it has been created to move? And that when you move, there is actually a way that we can set our lives in motion while at the same time integrating our devotion to God. That as we more fully live in to who God has called us and designed us and equipped us to be, then we too can begin to worship God with mind, body, soul, and spirit. Now, if you were to identify the number one reason or barrier for why people do not work out, what do you think it would be? Number one reason. Time. Time is the number one reason. If you've been to the circus, some of you may have seen an act in which one person begins with a plate and begins to spin that plate, and then they put it on a little stick and it continues to spin, and then as that plate is spinning, then another one comes up and they begin to spin that plate and another, and soon they've got 12 or 13 plates spinning. And as you're watching this, you lean in and you just think with, when are they going to drop a plate? When is it all going to stop? When is it going to fall down? And sometimes, if your life is anything like mine, we feel like we've got all those plates spinning. And to have a conversation where someone stands before you and says, and now let's integrate some exercise and motion with devotion. Let's get some fitness going on. You're thinking, I can barely handle all the plates that I've got spinning right now. I feel the weight of the responsibility of everything that's upon me. And you're telling me now to add something more to the life that I can barely keep my head up from under the water. What we fail to realize is that studies have proven time and time again that exercise actually makes individuals more productive. More productive in their work environment. It creates more mental clarity when the work that they're doing. It also creates patience with coworkers and having had that workout for you to come in and to have more of a team mentality around the table. What we fail to see is that exercise is not just another plate that we've got to keep spinning day after day of our life, but instead it's an invitation for us to partner with God in living the life that God has designed and created us to live. And so this morning, I want to give you 3 specific ways that you can get fit and you can stay healthy. The first one is to dream big. Dream big. And so I want you to participate in an exercise with me, as so you feel comfortable. And so I want you to sit in your comfortable pew and just get comfortable. Just, relax a little bit. Take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. All right? And then when you are ready, close your eyes. And I want you to go to your favorite vacation spot. I want you to go to the place where you find yourself at rest. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. Now I want you to imagine yourself as your most fit self. I want you to look at your face. Look at your body. What do you feel? What do you look like? What do you notice about yourself? If you had one dream or wish for 2015, then what would your dream or wish be? And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes. Where did you go? How many of you went to the beach? Others went to the mountains. Yeah, some of you there. What did you notice about your face? Was it smiling? Happy? At peace? What about your body? What do you look like as your fittest self? Right? Guys, were you chiseled? Oh, yes, Tony says. Were you strong? Were you radiant? Were you healthy? You see, in order to get motivated into motion, one of the things is that you start with a dream. Dreams, in essence, is what we want to accomplish down the road. And dreams give birth to goals. Goals help us in short term mark a difference on reaching and accomplishing that goal. But it goes far beyond just visualizing your best self. You also have to have a reason behind that. The reason is that which really begins to set you in motion for change at work in your life. And so then you begin to consider, why would I want to make change? For some of you, it may be that you one day want to walk your daughter down the aisle. You want to be there for that. For others, it may be that you want to see your grandchildren get married. Others may say, the reason I want to take care of myself today is so that those that I love most don't have to take care of me tomorrow. Some of the goals may not necessarily be around the health as much as it may be the dreams that God sets in my mind. I want to use this body that I've been given, and I want to use it for the glory of God. So I want to go on a Haiti mission trip. I want to go to the Bahamas. I want to use my hands and my heart and my spirit in such a way to share the love of Christ. As I've considered one of the reasons that I too want to get in better shape, it is specifically that I long to preach the gospel message of Jesus Christ as long as God will allow me to do it, to people exactly like you. I want to be able to love and to love lavishly and to care for you and to serve you. I want to be the mom that I'm called to be and the wife that I'm called to be. And for that to take place, then I'm to be a good steward of what God has entrusted to my care. And so the first thing that we learn to do is that we dream big. We find a reason for why we want to initiate change in our life. And then the second thing that we do is that we learn to play again. I want to use the word play and the acrostic P-L-A-Y to invite you to see as well as to discover how God's uniquely designed you. The P itself begins with start with a posture of prayer. Before you do anything physical, before you put your body in motion, just give God thanks that you have a body that can walk and move, that you have a body that can delight, that can lift weights, that can celebrate what has been given. Take time simply to give God thanks that you have been created exactly as you are. The other thing that we do is with the L, you lean into your unique design. Now, God has created each and every one of us different. And what you love to do, the person beside you may hate to do it. But get back and to figure out, what do I enjoy doing? For some, it might be mountain biking. For others, it could be horseback riding, taking walks. It could be running. It could be elliptical machines. It could be lifting weights. It could be surfing. This past weekend, I went rappelling down I spent a couple days at the beach, and I went zip lining. And I laughed, and I laughed until I cried. And for me, I went back to being a 5 or 6 year old little girl playing. What can we do to return to this place of absolute delight using the gift of these bodies that God has given us? The A stands for get active. Engage in that activity. You may start today and say, each day I want to do a little something that gets my body in motion. Don't start off by saying I'm going to walk 10 miles, but it may be. I have a friend that when she bathes her children, she does squats as she's bathing them. That in and of itself is taking advantage of the time you got. We not only have to engage in that activity, the last thing is why, and it stands for exactly that, why. The answer is for us to be Daniel strong. You see, Daniel had a tremendous amount of opportunity in order to turn from his character, in order to betray who he felt he was called to be, and yet time and time again, he was a man of character. You're going to see people today that have shirts that say Daniel Strong, and you can even receive one of those shirts. For us to be Daniel Strong, it stands for a pursuit of excellence when it comes to mind, body, heart, and soul. That like Daniel, we long to be individuals of character. What Daniel had every opportunity to do was to turn from his God. He particularly had opportunities when nobody was watching. There are going to be days where you're not going to want to move. There's going to be days when you don't want to set your body in motion, when you don't want to eat well. There's going to be days when instead of spending time with God, you skip it because there's so many other important things that you think that need to be tended to. But as we pursue this Daniel Strong mentality, we are invited to consider that God has a greater purpose and plan for each of your lives. And we are called to partner with God in helping bring that to fruition by the gift of the Holy Spirit. There's a movie that probably many of you have seen called Chariots of Fire. And if ever there was a Daniel Strong moment, it is with Eric Liddell, who runs for the glory of God. He says, God has created me with a purpose, and He has created me fast. And when I run, I feel God's pleasure. You see, God has created us to move. And when we begin to partner with God in living lives that are Daniel Strong, then God too delights in the very gift of you and who He's created you to be as well as to become. We've got some specific programs and plans to help you do this. We don't want to just cast out an idea without giving you specific ways that you can implement motion as well as devotion. And so I want to invite Tony up. He's going to share with you some of those programs within the church and specifically ways that you can get connected.